It looks strange. It looks like a dude is on his 5th divorce. Halloween H20 was the very first Halloween film that I ever watched. Now, I didn't see it in the cinemas. I actually watched it on TV about 2 years later. So we're talking the year 2000. It was on TV late at night. My dad taped it, and I watched it the following day in broad daylight because, quite frankly, I was shitting myself. Now, when the film was initially ramping up and gearing up and they were doing publicity promos and stuff like that, there was a magazine article that featured this particular promo photo. Now, I had very surface level knowledge of Halloween. I knew that the killer's name was Mike Myers, and I thought it was this dude. So much so that when the film came out, one kid in our year in primary school got to see the film in the cinemas. His parents were awesome, took him to see the film, and we were gathered around him like the kids are with Grandpa Simpson in that one particular episode with the lemon tree. And he was regaling us with the story and the scene of when Michael is stalking Laurie and she has the axe, and he said the name Mike Myers. And I said, "You mean the Austin Powers guy?" With that, everyone turned and looked at me like I was a fucking moron. But going back to seeing that initial publicity still, I looked at the mask and I thought, something looks off. I guess that's Michael Myers, but even at such a young age, the ripe old age of 10 years old, I knew something was off. And then I don't think back then Steve Miner, the cast, the crew were banking on 1080p, 4K, social media, just how big of a deep dive Halloween fans would do into the world of Michael Myers masks. Most notably, the masks that were used in Halloween H20. We obviously have the Halloween 6 mask that was used at the beginning of the film with Nurse Marion. We have the K&B mask, aka the Casper mask. We have the Stan Winston mask, aka put your finger in a light socket mask. And of course, the CGI mask. So in this video, I want to do a very big deep dive into those particular masks that were used, and also look at some beautiful footage that I got the blessing of Sean Clark to showcase in this video. Some great behind the scenes test footage of some of the masks that were used, but also could have been used throughout the entire film, and in my opinion, could have shifted the overall tone and feel of Halloween H20. So once again, a massive thank you to Sean Clark for giving me permission to use this particular footage. Of course, I will leave the link down to his YouTube channel. If you're a fan of horror, you know who Sean Clark is. He is the granddaddy of Halloween, horror, collectibles, etc. Movie props, you name it. The dude's an absolute gem. Now, I'm also going to be referencing Blood is Thicker Than Water, the Anchor Bay Halloween H20 documentary that Sean also helped produce. And my final source is going to be Halloween Movies on Facebook. They just essentially helped with getting the facts straight of the timeline of the masks used throughout the filming of Halloween H20. One of the principal issues during pre-production was to choose the right mask for Michael Myers to wear. Now, to do it, they gathered masks used in the previous 2 sequels. So we have a mask you see right here from Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, as well as 3 new versions sculpted by K&B Effects Group. Now, Michael Myers actor Chris Duran recalls they had a version of all the masks that had come before, and they had them all lined up on a rack so they could shoot them next to each other. And I put on each one and they took photos with different lighting with each one, basically deciding which mask to use or how to combine them and design the new mask. So I like that a lot of thought was put into this. They actually gave a shit this time around with how the mask should be, even though by the time the film was done, it was just an absolute complete shambles and has so much lore. Now, after a lot of deliberating, the production and director Steve Miner decided for one of the designs that K&B had provided. The shooting of the movie started, and this mask was used for about 3 weeks, which is a long time to be filming with just one mask. Screenwriter of the film, Robert Zappi, said initially when they first shot the film, they used this K&B mask, which I referred to as the Casper the Ghost mask. It's kind of featureless and I wasn't a big fan of it. To me, what made him so scary is the original Captain Kirk mask. And this one was so featureless that it was just kind of ethereal. Now, like I said, there were 3 weeks in. At that point, production of the film requested to change the Michael Myers mask in the middle of filming. The late great special effects artist John Carl Buechler said, by the time H2O came around, I know they had been working with K&B. They were running the show, and I knew Mustafa had very strong feelings about how the mask should look. Now, it's said that after the screening of the dailies footage, the mask was initially rejected by Dimension Films with the support of producer Mustafa Akkad, who then contacted John Carl Buechler to make another mask for the film. Director of photography Darren Okada says, we were probably 3 weeks into shooting when we got the call that said we couldn't use that mask. John Carl Buechler also recalls a call went out to me to sort of reinvent the Michael Myers mask from Halloween 6, but we had to make it look like some of the material that had already been shot in H2O, so we lengthened the neck a bit and did some minor changes to it. Buechler said his team attended the production on the day of shooting with the opening scene with the Halloween 6 mask, and to the surprise of director Steve Miner. Buechler says the director wasn't very pleased to see us there. Now, special effects artist Brad Harden said Steve Miner was just against the Halloween 6 mask. For some reason, what he envisioned that the original mask was completely white-faced with no expression, no features, which really is not what the mask was, but in his mind, that is what he wanted. Chris Duran says Steve was furious and I was caught in the middle being the guy that wears the mask. But we shot it with the K&B mask and then we shot it with the Halloween 6 mask, so we have both versions because Steve was still fighting to have the K&B mask to my understanding. Now, after the dispute between director Steve Miner and the production about which mask should be used in the film, special effects and makeup artist Stan Winston was hired to sculpt a brand new mask that encompassed what Miner liked about the K&B mask and what Dimension Films and Mustafa Akkad liked about John Carl Buechler's Halloween 6 modified mask. Robert Zapier recalls, and then they went in and did reshoots to the tune of, I think, $1.7 or $2 million just to do reshoots of the close-ups of the mask. So they didn't go around and reshoot everything. So there's still wide shots you can still spot in the film where you can see the K&B mask. Aside from the opening scene, which was already shot with both the K&B and the actual Halloween 6 mask, almost all the other close-ups of the mask were reshot, particularly one missing close-up where Charlie bumps into Michael Myers in the kitchen. It was digitally treated with a CGI mask that can be seen for approximately 2 seconds in the film. Director of photography Darren Okada recalls, for that shot, I'm not sure why we didn't just reshoot it. It might have been because that room was already torn up. So in the end, the film showcases 4 different masks: the Halloween 6 mask in the opening, the K&B mask for the wide shots, the Stan Winston mask for the close-up shots, and finally the CGI mask for the scene mentioned before. So it's an absolute shit show to say the least, but the footage I'm about to go through and show you guys again is courtesy of Sean Clark from his YouTube channel, but it showcases different versions of the Halloween 6 mask. There's one particular version that I absolutely love, and like I said at the beginning of this video, quite frankly, it could have changed and shifted the tone and feel of the entirety of Halloween H2O. So before we check out the mask test, let's look at the raw footage before the CGI mask was incorporated into the shot between Charlie and Michael Myers. So I believe this is a work print and it has the time code on it. So let's check it out. Now I believe that is the K&B mask. It looks like the K&B mask, but with the hair of the Winston mask. I could be wrong. It's so dimly lit and the quality is so poor. It looks like a blend of both, but the eyes tell me K&B, but the hair tells me Winston. Now what we have here are the camera tests for the various Myers masks, which is really cool to see. So I'm actually just gonna pause and scrub through it. So Halloween frame and focus, Super 35 to 41. They've got the white balance there. Now I believe, what mask is that? That looks to me like the K&B mask. So I'm assuming that's Chris Duran, just doing a side profile. It looks like it looks like the K&B mask, but it also looks like a Don Post the mask, or one of those mass-produced ones that was around at the time. Now this one, is this the Halloween 6 mask? Yes, so this is the Halloween 6 mask, and like it's such a step up in terms of being scary and not just looking like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Was he holding a box, or is he holding the different shades of white? Okay, this is another Halloween 6 mask. Now the next batch of footage we're going to see really nice close-up shots of the different Halloween 6 masks. Now this one has really wide eyes. It looks strange. It looks like It looks like a dude who's on his 5th divorce. This is the mask I love. Now, I believe this is Brad Harden. I'm pretty sure it is. This Halloween 6 mask looks absolutely mint. I love it. I think it's just the perfect balance. The paint looks great. Now, was that the wide-eyed one? It's amazing how different the mask can shift in terms of like having wider eyes and stuff like that. Now, here's the photo I showcased before of some crew members holding up the different masks. So we've got the Halloween 6. We've got Halloween 5. Is that a Dom Post the mask? Halloween 6, that looks like another Dom Post, and that looks like a raw pull of a Halloween 6 mask. Okay, this is the mask test footage for Halloween H20, and this is John Carl Buechler, the late, great John Carl Buechler. Brad Harden also makes an appearance. So again, just trying to figure out and see which mask is going to work best, and they've gone back to the molds from Halloween 6 and then made some new masks. Well, John did for that matter. And I guess all just to see like which one looks best with wider eyes, smaller eyes, a darker paint job, more weathering, different hairstyles and stuff like that. So if we scrub through, he's just doing turnarounds. And that one has really, really ratty long hair, like almost bordering on a mullet. So I think it's that one that's my favorite that we saw in the screen test footage before. This one again has very wide eyes and it kind of kills the look. For me, it no longer becomes intimidating. I believe this is the one that's my favorite. It just hits all the right marks in terms of angles, the eye cuts, the shading. No, it's not that one. That one looks very overly weathered. It doesn't look natural. But then they get Brad Harden to try on some of the masks. So there we go. There's Brad trying on one of the masks. Is that the one that I like? That one does look actually really good. And that's what I really do dig the Halloween 6 mask. I love how it looks like he's sculpted out of rock. Like he looks like a gargoyle, almost like a goblin with the pointy ears. This is the one with the very wide eyes, as we saw before, and the very, very long ratty hair. This one just borders on goofy and not intimidating at all. So John Carl Buechler says it closely resembles the Halloween 1 mask. It's a bit of a stretch, my guy. Okay, here's the one I think hits all the right marks. And it just fits Brad's head so well. I like it so much more narrow. And especially when he's looking straight on, it looks great. The shading looks great. The hair looks brilliant. The eye cuts are spot on. There's just something about it. Even like the way the neck sits on his head and the way it's lit as well. The way you can light it from one side and have the other side dark. You know, imagine this throughout the entirety of Halloween H20. I mean, look at that. That looks great. There you go, guys. That was a bit of a deep dive into the 4 masks used in Halloween H20. Obviously, like, very briefly touched on the CGI masks you see for 2 seconds in the film. I wonder if that file still exists somewhere in some dank storage hard drive somewhere in LA. Who the fuck knows? But when it comes down to it, that particular Halloween 6 mask that Brad Harden is sporting looks absolutely brilliant. I think it's that perfect balance of the Part 6 mask from The Curse of Michael Myers, but doing something a little bit different, and it borders almost on the Winston mask. The Winston mask is somewhat impressive, I think because you see so much of Chris Duran's eyes, it no longer becomes intimidating. That scare factor is completely gone. And with the K&B mask, I know it has its fans. I know certain people out there in the Myers mask community love it. Again, I think because it just goes so featureless, that it loses that intimidation factor. Whereas you look at the original Shatner mask, it was subtle, but there were features there. It was that perfect balance of blank, pale, emotionless, while still having subtle bits of shading, the cheekbones, even the eye cuts as well. The way Tommy Lee Wallace widened those eyes was just perfection. And at the time, he was just winging it. It took him like all but 40 minutes to create one of the most iconic pieces of horror. And with that being said, guys, let me know down below your favorite mask from H20. If you don't have one, fair enough. Again, there's so much lore behind, and it was such a shit show. And I think once again, Steve Miner, the cast and crew, they didn't exactly bank on social media being what it is now, 1080p, 4K, Blu-rays, all that stuff for us to notice this stuff. But here we are, and it's fun to talk about. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.